Hi, I'm Jada from Girl from the Coast Designs. I create knitting patterns and tutorials designed with structure, clarity and care. Today I want to talk to you about one of the most common problems in top-down sweater knitting, and that's the dreaded underarm holes. And today I'm going to show you the method that I use in all of my seamless garments that helps to eradicate that problem. First of all, let's talk about why the gaps occur. So the underarm join is an area of high tension in any garment. You have fabric that has tension going in two directions, at 90 degrees for the sleeves and obviously horizontally for the body. So naturally it's an area of tension and wear for stitches. When a garment is complete, that tension is lessened to a great degree because every stitch is surrounded by another one. When we separate for the body and arms of a sweater, we leave these underarm stitches and they don't have supporting fabric around them. So when we move the garment, maybe to try it on, or when we're just naturally moving it to knit it, we place these stitches under stress and they can stretch quite easily. Some of that tension can be eradicated by using clips maybe like these that actually hold the parts of the garment together, but it doesn't eliminate that stretch completely. So this has been a feature of top-down garments, as I say, for a very long time. If we go back to the original Guernsey sweaters used in the North Atlantic for fisherfolk, those particular sweaters were designed with a gusset, and that gusset was designed to actually help absorb that tension and also to stop the rise of the sweater as the fisherfolk were actually working. So what are we going to do? So when we look at this underarm join, we can actually come up with a strategy to deal with any issues that may have arisen through stretching. So if we come in closely, we can have a look that these are the, I think it was 6 stitches on this particular garment. This is the Madaleva sweater. 6 stitches were cast off on the body when we separated the sleeves and the body of the garment. Now on one side that's actually not bad. There's probably room for an extra stitch in here, but on this side it's actually quite gappy. So we're going to have to come up with a strategy to deal with that. And what I normally do is in my patterns, I'll tell you to cast on maybe 6, 7, 8 stitches at this underarm. But that's the number of stitches we want to end up with after we have resolved any underarm issues here. So what I'm likely to do here, I think, is to cast on an additional 2 stitches on either side, which I will then deal with probably in the first 4 rounds of the sweater to give an additional bit of ease, and then I will actually cast those off in pairs on either side. So even though the issue is greater on this side, I want a even, thoughtful reduction on either side, so I will cast on the same number of additional stitches this side. I will show you what it looks like when it's actually resolved, and then I'll show you how I pick up those stitches. So on this sleeve, I have already looked at what was the problem and resolved it on this side. If you want to come in closely, you'll see that here is the body. The join is across here, and that's the body of the sleeve. We've got our raglan shaping on either side coming through. That's what these ridges are here. But we've got no gaps and therefore no holes. There's enough fabric in here to actually deal with the tension of the garment, and the way the stitches have been picked up, it looks like they continue right on up from the body into the sleeve. So that's the kind of result that we're looking for. How do we achieve it? Let's go about that. So I have connected my yarn on the side. These holding needles that I put the sleeve stitches on when I separated the body and sleeve are actually too long, so I have a smaller circular needle that I'm going to work with, and I want the pickup to go naturally across here, but I need to work on this side here too, picking up another 2 stitches. So that's the join there. If I put a stitch in here, that's just going to create a hole, so we're not going to do that. Probably start here, I think, and pick up that one. Go through the 2 loops for stability. Gosh, there it is, right. And again, is that going to be, that is going to be too gappy. So just make some judgment calls as you go around on these side pieces about where you're going to place the stitch, so you don't end up, if I went in there, that'd just be a great big hole. So placement is crucial. Let's get that out of the way. Right, so there are the 2 additional stitches on this side, and then we are looking for where these columns of stitches come up here, so that when we create these new arm stitches, as it does in the other sleeve, it looks like it flows on through naturally. And there is no obvious join. And that is the result we're looking for. So just take your time, do it nice and slowly, so you get a nice, neat result. So I'll come back to you when I've picked up on the other side, and then we'll work around together. So I have picked up from the underarm join. I've added my 2 additional stitches on either side, so rather than 6 I have 10 additional stitches, and I've worked my way around moving all the stitches onto the smaller needle. So the Girl from the Coast, or the GFC approach, in terms of the strategy to deal with these underarm joins, is to pick up the underarm stitches, add strategic extra stitches at each end. We work those stitches for the first few rounds, and then we decrease them away once the sleeve fabric is established. Because I've had to put on 4 rather than the 2 that I would have preferred, I'm going to slightly amend that strategy. I'm going to work 1 round, do 1 lot of decreases, so a paired decrease on each side, work another round, and then do another paired decrease set to end up with the required number of stitches for the sleeve itself. Now, why this works is that the extra stitches help absorb the tension in this join. The decreases disappear into the natural sleeve shaping. By having them paired, they look like they are part of the sleeve design as opposed to something that we've done outside of the design. We've got no sewing afterwards, no duplicate stitch repairs, and a clean professional finish. Now, this is the approach that, as I've said, I take on all my seamless designs. So on the Dero Tero sweater, this is the Mar de Lever. It's also the approach I took on the Flinders, which is the dense cable sweater. So I am here, I've got my beginning of the row marker in the middle of what will be the 6 additional stitches. And I've worked 1 round, so this is my first decrease round. 1, 2, 3. That's my required stitches. This is an additional one. I'm going to work it, and I am going to work the additional stitch into the first stitch of the held sleeve stitches. And when I come round to this end, I will take the same approach round here. I'll work to the last 5 stitches. So they're the 3 I want to keep. These are the 2 I'm going to have to decrease. That is the last held stitch on this end. I will knit, well, I'll do an SSK and work those 2 stitches together. So I'll carry on round and then we'll come back at this end. So here I am at the end of the round. I have my 3 stitches that I want to keep cast on for the underarm, my 2 additional ease stitches, and the last stitch of the held sleeve. And this is where we do our SSK. So I use the Paddy Lyons technique, but you can use whatever SSK technique you prefer. Work those 2 together, and that's one of those additional stitches reduced. So I'll do one more plain round and then I will repeat those decreases, and then I will be at the right stitch count for the rest of my sleeve. I'll come back to you after I've done a few rows and we can have a look at the finished result. So here we are, 7 rounds in since the pickup at the underarm. I'm actually really pleased with how that's going. You see the little bits of shaping on that side paired with that lot on that side. The columns are lined up really well, and after this is washed and blocked it's going to be a really good finish, so I'm very happy with that. It's a small technique, but with a bit of time and a bit of thinking on in terms of the strategy, how many stitches you'll pick up either side, it can make a huge difference to the appearance of the finished garment. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please like, and if you wish, subscribe, and keep up to date with the new videos on techniques that we release over time. Thank you for knitting with me today.